All right, I will bring us back in order from recess. Okay, we'll move forward with our first agenda item is our roll call. Clerk, please call our roll.
Commissioner DeLuke?
Here.
Commissioner Gisler?
Here.
Vice Chair Pro Tem Hepler?
Here.
Commissioner Mazer? Here. Commissioner Morales?
Present.
Commissioner Ray?
Present.
Chair Strips?
Here.
Vice Chair Taylor?
Here.
Commissioner Wheeler? Here. 9 present.
Thank you. All right, we'll go to item 2 is our opportunity first this afternoon for public comment. Public comment can be made in person or by phone if attending virtually. Participants may call 855-925-2801 and enter meeting code 10748 and then press star 3 to join the queue. Callers may request to join the speaker queue at any time before the final public comment period ends. You'll be permitted to speak during the specific public comment session for which you requested to join. Speakers will be recognized in the order their requests are received. Is there anyone in chambers wishing to make a public comment? Welcome, and for once not in green. I'm so
I feel like I'm off brand today. It's a snow day. Nevertheless, you do recognize me that I am Jane Ghosh here from Discover Kalamazoo, and I wanted to come and make a brief comment to update you on the progress on the indoor youth and amateur sports facility. Because there was press after the City of Kalamazoo Zoning Board of Appeals meeting that I think the coverage might have been maybe open to misinterpretation. So we did go take the project to the Zoning Board of Appeals last week and requested, week before last, excuse me, requested 5 variances. Of those 5, 4 were granted. And the 5th, the press coverage talked about it as it having delayed the project. In fact, the 5th variance was denied, which means that there's not necessarily a delay in the project. It just means we have to now work around that variance. And so our intent is to we have options. We're actively discussing options. We remain fully committed to the project, and we don't anticipate that this will cause a significant delay. There was also mentioned the first press coverage talked about there being an issue with the Kalamazoo County Board of Commissioners, and we immediately corrected that because this county board has been nothing but supportive at every step of the project, and we appreciate and recognize that. And in fact, Commissioner Ray sent in a letter of support, which we appreciated, and Commissioner Wheeler came in and spoke in support of the project at that meeting. This is also nothing to do with the staff of the City of Kalamazoo. They have also been supportive of the project at every step of the way, and in fact recommended approval of all 5 of those variances. So we will overcome this, we have active ideas in consideration to make sure that we meet the needs of all constituents and stakeholders in the project. So just wanted to reassure you. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Welcome.
Thank you for the directions up here.
Yes, good.
Good evening, or still afternoon, I guess. My name is Anna Horner. I'm the Public Works Director for Oshtemo Township. I wanted to start by saying thank you to the Commission for your work here and trying to make Kalamazoo County the best possible place it can be. I'm here tonight for a resolution later on the agenda relative to Public Act 185 and issuing public infrastructure bonds. The county and Oshtemo have been able to complete many essential infrastructure projects like the non-motorized path on KL Avenue, which the county granted ARPA funds for in 2023, and most recently award of grant funds in 2026 for Oshtemo to lead a transportation planning analysis on an important growing area near West Main and US 131 interchange. I appreciate this item being brought before you tonight and look forward to another opportunity to work with the county on an impactful project. This project is not simply about pipes in the ground, but about system reliability, fiscal stewardship, environmental protection, and ensuring that existing neighborhoods are supported by infrastructure that meets modern standards. As outlined in the resolution materials, these improvements are necessary and appropriate for the health, safety, and welfare of not only our township, but the county as a whole. I want to acknowledge the commitment that this project has been, spanning over a decade at this point, starting with a strategic plan completed by our board in 2011. Through many trials, our board has continuously sought out an equitable, multi-purpose funding combination that was informed by industry professionals and public input. This includes a dedicated revolving fund to support connections to the new system for individuals or families that qualify by income threshold or extenuating circumstances. Tonight is another step to keep that project moving forward in the most cost-effective and efficient way possible. Importantly, this is a community-wide investment, and I can say as a professional engineer, reliable sanitary sewer not only protects the groundwater, surface water, it ensures responsible economic development and reduces the long-term risk and costs for residents. It allows communities to proactively plan for growth, advance climate resilience, and accommodate changing regulatory standards, ensuring that infrastructure keeps pace with the community needs rather than relying on reacting to certain failures. These benefits don't stop at municipal boundaries, but they accrue regionally. I'd also like to use this time before you to recognize the Kalamazoo County staff that we've worked with and the committee members, particularly Planning Director Grover and the Board of Public Works for their professionalism, due diligence through this process, and it was apparent during their level of deliberation, various perspectives, and the thoughtful dialogue that they have the public's best interests at heart. This has been a collaborative effort, and it reflects what's best when intergovernmental agencies in cooperation can work together and when all parties are aligned around shared outcomes. On behalf of Oshtemo Township's board, thank you for your consideration and support, and we look forward to our continued partnership. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else? Seeing none, Administrator, do we have anyone online? Thank you. Okay. I think if someone could grab our microphone too. Oh, thanks, Jane. Appreciate it. Teamwork. All right, excellent. We'll go on now to item 3, review accounts payable and payroll disbursements. We'll welcome forward Finance Director Ryan Post. And then Finance Director, you please go right into item 4, our monthly financials after this.
Absolutely. Good afternoon, Chair, Vice Chair Pro Tem, Board of Commissioners. This evening, we have an accounts payable claims list totaling $3,956,544.59 is presented for review. Of this total, the Board of Commissioners is asked to approve claims totaling $3,904,043.29. Payroll disbursements totaling $4,598,582.57 are presented for the January 15th elected and January 16th general payrolls. With that said, we welcome any questions from the Board of Commissioners.
All right, I'm seeing none. Go ahead.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Director.
All right, segueing to the monthly financial statement for December 2025. Please note this is not wrapped up yet. We say that in alignment with our year-end processes. We really allow for staff to have the end of the month of January to physically pay an invoice for 2025 while we're in 26. We also allow another step with processing and recording of journal entries. So when expenditures or revenues are posted in 26, they have the ability to bring those back accordingly. So with that said, we want to provide ample comments and information within the statement to be proactive and hopefully answer any questions from the board you may have at this time. And we welcome any questions.
Thank you, Director. Vice Chair?
Yes, thank you very much. Again, thank you for this information. Appreciate it. The revenues function the non-department specific budget, and you listed a bunch of things on there. I think it's page 3 or 4. The one-time increase to support OPAs. These don't look like revenues, but expenditures. They're 2024 expenditures that didn't happen, so they've come in as 2025 revenue. Is that right?
So the purpose, Vice Chair Taylor, of page 3 of 10 is, while these are expenditures, yes, we were using reserves or fund balance to show for that. And the purpose of this highlight on page 3 is to show each use of the board's approval of using reserves to support those initiatives throughout the calendar year. They do directly tie into the expenditures, but we just started with the revenues because that's how the report.
So when we're reporting them in revenues, I mean, why is it reported in revenues and not in expenditures?
Well, it is. We're just showing, again, this is specifically using fund balance, previously generated funds. So we just wanted to show what the purpose of the use of the fund balance was, when it was approved, and the amount. And so that just basically shows, when we look at 2025's report, we have about $6.5 million budgeted, previously generated funds, and this articulates by each initiative what makes up that amount.
And so when we're short of the previous generated funds, I guess here, central government, so when it says that we're short on revenue by about $4 million as of December, let me try to find it here. I think it was 4 million. General government, I gotta go all the way up. Okay, so when it says that we're short on revenue by that amount, like $4.2 million, that's saying that we will not anticipate collection of that $4.2 million, or we do anticipate it, or we budgeted for 6.5 and we've only received 2.4.
Well, what that is showing is we have the board's approved to use reserves from prior years to support these initiatives. I want to emphasize, though, that some of these are in the golden ratio, right? So that comes directly from, if that's answering your.
Yeah, I guess my question is, and I understand that it's been approved by the board. I get that. That's not my question. My question is, when we say, okay, on the revenue side, we have, I'm going to try to find it. I lost it here, but general government, non-specific department revenue, whatever that is. I'm trying to find it. I can't find it in my thing, but it's basically saying we're down on revenue about about $8 million. 4 of it is taxes that we haven't collected yet, and 4 of it is in this non-specific department revenue. Every other revenue source exceeded, most everyone exceeded expectations or exceeded the amended budget amount, but this did not, by about $4 million. When you look at our bottom line in revenues, it encompasses about 50% of our miss in revenues. And that's what I'm saying. Are we anticipating collecting that money, or is that just reflected on the expenditure side as well?
Please allow for us to circle back to this, and we can provide with administration a response to draft that. Absolutely.
Fair enough. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Vice Chair. Are there any other questions? All right, I'm seeing none. Thank you, Director.
Chair, if I may,
Yes, Administrator.
I
thank you.
apologize. We actually have Prosecutor Getting on the line attempting to deliver public comment. If you wouldn't mind circling back.
Yes, please, I'll entertain. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm presuming that you can all hear me. Congratulations, first off, to Jen Stubbs as Chair of the Board of Commissioners, John Taylor, Vice Chair, and Vice Chair Pro Tem Jeff Hepler, and your re-elections to leadership positions. I'm looking forward to working with each of you, as well as the other members of the County Board of Commissioners in the coming year. I'm calling to offer comment about Agenda Item 6, the Facility Master Plan 2025 update as it relates to the Prosecutor's Office. One of the recommendations or possibilities that's in that Facilities Master Plan is a move of the Prosecutor's Office out of the Pratt Justice Center. I want you to know that I think that this is a terrible idea. It reflects a fundamental lack of understanding about what we do in the prosecutor's office and the services we provide to the local community. It fails to consider the negative impact on the community that we all serve. There are hundreds of hours spent by me and my team working to design and build the prosecutor's office, integrating it into the Pratt Justice Center so that it would best serve the community. Tens of millions of dollars was spent building it.
I
We
appreciate
moved
everyone's
in
patience while we're
25
trying to
months
bring
ago.
forward, our remote public comment. Thank you, Al.
Well, Chair, if I may
Chair
again,
Stubbs,
it appears that we're just not gonna be able to bring them over via Zoom, which is good to know, because that means it will not work for anyone as of tonight. At least the call-in option. So the option and what I would propose is that I can call him directly via phone and I can play his public comment.
Yes, I would have suggested the same. So thank you,
Okay.
Administrator.
Wonderful. Just give me one moment.
Yes. Yes, thank you, Prosecutor. Welcome.
Thank you, Administrator Catlin. First off, let me congratulate Jen Krebs on her reelection as chair, Doug Taylor as vice chair, Jeff Eckler as vice chair pro tem. I'm looking forward to working with you and the board as well as the other chairs in the company. Talking about agenda item number 6, the facility master plan 2025 update as it relates to the prosecutor's office. In that facility master plan update is a possibility of a recommendation for moving the prosecutor's office out of the Pratt Justice Center. Frankly, I think that this is a terrible idea. It reflects a fundamental lack of understanding about what we do and the service we provide to the local community. It fails to consider the negative impact on the community that we serve. The recommendation comes without my consultation or input. There were hundreds of hours spent by me and my team working to design and build the prosecutor's office, integrating it into the Pratt Justice Center in a way that would best serve the community. Tens of millions of dollars was spent building it. We moved in 25 months ago, barely 2 years ago. Not only does this suggested move throw away that time and money, more importantly, it reduces the services that we will provide, makes doing our jobs harder, increases costs, and creates additional hardships for the thousands of people in Kalamazoo who have been individually affected by crime. Last year in 2025, the prosecutor's office charged 2,922 adult felony cases, 4,890 adult misdemeanor cases, 7,812 criminal cases in total. We declared 34,795 scheduled court events in 2025. We subpoenaed 21,000 people for court and over 5,000 people appeared at the prosecutor's office for cases heard at the Pratt Justice Center. Projecting that out in the future, 50,000 people from our community in the next 10 years, 100,000 people in the next 20 years, appearing at the prosecutor's office for cases to be heard at the Pratt Justice Center. Frankly, what is being proposed would be the prosecutor's office in the worse off than we were if the issue happened before us. There are other better solutions to addressing the needs of the prosecutor's office, the courts, the county, and most importantly, the people that we are serving. I'm looking forward to discussing this with you further and with other stakeholders as this process moves forward. Thank you very much for your time today. Have a great meeting.
Good. Thank you very much. All right. Appreciate that comment. We'll go now forward to item number 5. We're on our monthly investment report. We'll welcome forward Chief Deputy Treasurer Tyler White. Welcome, Tyler.
Thank you, Chair. So just running right into December and our total returns for 2025. As of December 31st, the county's investment portfolio has a par value balance of $160,214,383.02 and a market value of $159,997,111.62. There's a mark-to-market variance between our par and market values of $217,271.40, which is a decrease from November of just over $94,000. As a reminder, every month, our mark-to-market only impacts our bottom line if we were to liquidate our portfolio. As every month, please don't. Our strategy is to hold these assets till maturity to avoid any of these losses. For the month of December, our portfolio earned $542,026.18 on an average daily balance of $156,510,891.86 for an effective rate of return on our investments of 4.08%. It's inclusive of all realized gains, losses on sales and maturities, our amortization of investment premiums and discounts. And of the $542,000 we've earned, $352,000 of it relates to the general fund and budget stabilization investment pools. I can do more splits, but I think we'd be getting into the weeds. For the year, our portfolio earned $7,110,222.77 on an average daily balance of $164,419,393.46 for an effective rate of return on our investments for the entire year of 4.32%. This is also inclusive of our realized gains, losses, sales, maturities, amortization of premiums, and discounts. Of the $7.1 million that we earned, $4.4 million roughly belonged to the general fund. And with that, we also have good news on the inflation front. We actually got data. Inflation over the last 12 months, as of December 31st, was 2.7%, unchanged from November's 2.7%. For the month, our 4.08% rate of return on investments, higher than inflation. We experienced a 1.38% net gain in purchasing power. For the year, it's 1.62. Here's our breakdown of inflation across categories. So food is up 2.6%, energy, commodities, or fuel up 1.2%, energy services or utilities up 7.4%, of which electricity is up 6.9%, gas is up 9.1%. It's weighted to get to the 7.4%. Shelters up 3%, transportation services up 1.7%, medical services up 3.3%, and other commodities, so vehicles, apparel, medical commodities up 1.4%. With the close of our 2025 investment activity, the treasurer and I would like to thank this board. Thank you for your work, administration, your help. We hope to continue to have good news to report through 2026, and I'd be happy to take any questions on 25 or what we're doing going forward.
Thank you, Deputy Treasurer. Are there questions? Commissioner Gisler?
Thank you, Chair. Tyler, I don't have a question. I just want to compliment you on the kind of job you've done consistently since you came on the scene. Thanks very much for doing what you do so well.
Vice Chair.
I'd like to ditto those comments. In 2023, 2022, we were making $800,000, $1.1 million a year, and we were budgeting that. Now we're actually budgeting 2.7, 3, and we're hitting over $4.5 million in our general fund. These are dollars that weren't there a few years ago because we weren't investing it. Now we are. So kudos to you and your office. Thank you very much.
Good. I would agree with that sentiment. So we're appreciative of you and your efforts. I do have one question. As we're having discussions around inflation, and the numbers have not been released at the same cadence as in the past, do we have any other sources that track the movement of inflation beyond the federal statistics that are provided? Are there any state level data that we can use to evaluate that?
At least not that I'm aware of on a state basis. What we've got from the Bureau of Labor Statistics has always been the gold standard in data. You can track what the market is doing by and large. During October, when we didn't have our inflation data, a lot of the information leading into the Federal Reserve meeting on whether or not they're going to cut rates, what they wanted to do, was based on just private company data from like ADP and other providers. As far as inflation data, I'm not familiar with anything. I'll continue to look and see if we can find alternatives in case this continues to be an issue. The sincere hope is that it won't be, because government shutdowns are hopefully far and few between. And even in those, October 2025 is the only one on record that hasn't had the data published even after the fact. So this feels more like an anomaly. Knocking on wood to pray that's going to be true going forward. Thank you very much. All right, I think we have nothing further. Thank you. Good. All right, we'll go to item 6, other items. We'll take up first the Kalamazoo County Facilities Master Plan 2025 update. We have a presentation from Administrator Dr. Catlin, County Administrator, or Deputy County Administrator Terrell Cole of Internal Services as well. Welcome.
Yeah, well, they need to send me the meeting. Good afternoon. As we get ourselves together, board, chair, vice chair pro tem, just wanted to say that we are here today, very proud of the effort to provide the board with a facilities master plan. This is a pretty significant effort for the county to assess all of its facilities, not just the physical structures, but what happens in the building. What's a little bit different about this is that our consultant, Eckert Wardle, and our partnership here with Jared Vandeweel and his team, endeavor to not only assess again that form and function, but just the ability of those facilities to be able to grow with the county's future needs. And that's going to be the basis of the presentation. As you also notice, that's the theme of the facilities master plan. I won't steal any of his thunder in terms of how that's organized, but it's a foundational document as we assess the long range capital and financial planning and assessing future investments. Really understanding the schedule of when our larger investments in our facilities are going to take place. So then the CIP committee will be able to evaluate those and make recommendations to the board, ongoing. So this is, again, a foundational document. Okay, thank you. That will help us make decisions moving forward. So let me do this and get it set up. And Jared, I don't know if you want to introduce yourself a little bit while we get that going.
Sure. Thank you for having me this evening, Chair, Vice Chair, Board. It's been a pleasure working with your department heads, all the access we had to your facilities, and kind of as Deputy Administrator Cole explained, just the setting the lens with your team of the future focused tone, kind of the data driven tone, and understanding the growth opportunities each of your departments faced and how that can be achieved with your facilities and facility investments in the future. Looking forward to walking through what that master plan states. No surprises. You can see all the thunder you want at this point, and get any feedback and address any concerns that the board has.
Yeah.
Okay, appreciate it. Want to just run through?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's your show.
Hope to keep this brief, but of course, interrupt me, please, if you have any questions. I just wanted to walk through our methodology, how we went about identifying project needs, how we went about prioritizing them, touch on the overall summary of the projects, the costs, their order, and then kind of zoom in on those year one or those short-term projects, kind of year 1 to 5 projects, and make sure we're kind of clear on what that might look like in the immediate next steps rolling out. Let's see. So methodology, we kicked this off by sending out a questionnaire to all of your department heads. The questionnaire kind of asked 3 main questions. How do you interact with the public today? What are your current staffing needs today? And what are the kind of shared resources in the facility that you have today? And then what do you see the future needs on those 3 aspects: public interactions, your office space needs, and your collaborative space needs? While those questionnaires were being filled out, we toured facilities. We toured those sometimes with department heads, but always with buildings and grounds. So we had the context, we had the lens through which those department heads were living to explain their situation, their growth, opportunities, and challenges. Then we came back together, we interviewed those department heads, and then we quantified all of their space needs. We have 8 people today, we have a future staff of 4. We gave that, based on your facility standards, a square footage, and we totaled up everything you have now and what that future square footage need was. Then we kind of stepped back. We looked at the delta between where do we see these needs landing in the next 5, 10, 15 years, and what are our facilities doing? Do they have ability to grow, expand, and meet these challenges or not? And so then we assess that delta. How do we meet that with additions, renovations, or ground up construction? So that was kind of the initial data gathering, come to understand what you have.
I already have a question.
Please.
Sorry. So I'm wondering the square footage methodology,
Yes.
did it also consider remote and hybrid work schedules, space sharing for particular types of employees? Was that part of the dialogue with department heads, et cetera?
Yes, that we were asked to consider that and ask department heads to kind of challenge their raw assumptions. If some of your department heads are very leaning towards it, some aren't, but that was a question always considered. And we do have a handful of remote work capabilities and hot desking opportunities that are worked into the space needs of the master plan. So once we kind of understood our project solutions, or at least the needs, then we came together and we looked at prioritization, which how that conversation went is when is the need? When do we expect the need to hit? If we meet this need now, is it an enabling move for other departments? If we build a new building, do we have opportunity to backfill and relieve other pressures in the county with this existing building stock that we have? And so does that bump one up? Is there an order that we want to roll these out in? And then clarity and purpose. We really wanted to make sure that the facilities that we were recommending that were coming to the top of the list really had clarity and purpose that could be articulated. Some of the needs are very dependent on things changing, kind of future case, different quality of care for juvenile home, for example, was one that fell toward the bottom because there's a lot of trends that have to be intercepted and understood before we have the right solution to address some of their future needs. So clarity and purpose for now became a real indicator for prioritization. The other thing we did as projects came into focus was give them an assessment score. Assessment score in this case is the cost to renovate or expand what we have divided by the cost to buy new land and build a brand new facility and outfit that facility. Please.
Vice Chair.
Did you factor in operational cost increase or decrease as well, like utility costs and that sort of stuff?
Into this raw score, operational cost did not play a factor. It was just the project, executing the project. But acquiring land was in every one of these, and escalations in every one of these costs, which we'll address a little later. So this is the through that process, this is the summary, and then we'll get into each one of those top 5 for that level 1. A new administration building, the driver being administrative department growth is projected to increase by about 50% of space needs. So you're going to outgrow this facility very quickly. And so we compared building a new facility versus expanding, adding a floor and expanding toward the Pratt with this facility. And we can acquire land and do a new building for, we got that ratio there of that 0.76, kind of tipped it into a new facility. Makes a lot of sense. In addition, just to the raw numbers, there's a how we work, how we interact with the public, kind of those qualitative features of a space that don't get quantified. This facility has challenges moving into the future for what the community expects of transparency, access, ease of welcoming kind of atmosphere, and delivering the service you deliver to the community at the highest level. And again, can't quantify that, but it's just another thing that supports a new facility. Emergency Operations Center. I know that was one that kind of came up at the tail end because we were entertaining new facilities versus rolling that into an existing facility. The master plan addresses avenues, pros and cons for both working into an existing facility. Please. Okay. Or constructing new. But those are both on the table, either in both cases. Investment in an EOPS space is contemplated. Drain Commission, this is another one that kind of lands in 2 worlds, but needs to be addressed. Drain Commission, as proposed, would move out to the Road Commission facility. Although they're located in admin, they have a lot of field gear. They just have a lot of activities that aren't congruent with downtown office building. And they need warm storage and kind of a more field-focused, field-oriented space. Household hazardous waste, I kind of breezed over earlier, but household hazardous waste, that's a facility, while it's functional where it is, it's grossly outgrown its site, needs significant more square footage and site for large vehicle circulation. And then significant one here, the sheriff's office, moving through, comparing expanding the facility that's there versus acquiring approximately 20 acres and building a new facility. This one fell in the renovation recommendation. We've got enough land there. We can expand in place and kind of continue to invest in that in phases. And we'll dig into that a little later. So this level 1, I don't think it falls here. I think it's in the report, are kind of our year 0 to 5 recommendations for investments. Level 2 is the 5 to 10 years, and 10 years out falls into the level 3. Now I'm going to transition to get a little bit more granular for each of those level 1 facilities, and then I'll land on this page again to address any questions or concerns. New admin, I covered some of this data. We're growing here about 50% over what you have now. The administrative space needs, if you just scaled this, I think we need about 125,000 square feet. And then we're looking at addressing the long-term secure file storage that has populated the old Gull Road Justice Center, and also pulling back some files from Iron Mountain, if those can be quantified, and that could be addressed in this square footage. Please.
Sorry,
Through the chair, please.
Yeah,
But yes, Vice Chair.
sorry to ask, keep on, but has there been a total of what we are currently spending in secure file storage and what operationally that would save by doing that in-house? Do we have a total number on that?
That was not shared with me. I believe I picked up along the way that study was going on, but that didn't influence this. We just looked at space square footage from old Gull Road courts to bring over. This also anticipates other opportunity square footage. It could be health and human services could have a satellite location here. The OCC could come and occupy square footage here. So we planned, in addition to this space plus secure file, other opportunity spaces that we might not have a clear lens on now, but knowing every department was growing, could occupy this facility too. I know the prosecutor spoke earlier. That could be space that came over. There's other opportunities to round out this full square footage. Drain Commission. Maybe I jumped ahead myself and gave some of these explanations. Drain Commission needs to maintain at least a footprint in the county seat, but the bulk of their work is very field orientated, and they benefit from some warm storage type setting, locker spaces, like has been done out at the Road Commission. New emergency management opportunity to co-locate either in a new admin building and have a conference suite that could be activated as emergency management, or what's represented here is purchasing several acres, investing in an emergency operations center and warm storage for some of their vehicles and supplies that get activated and called upon during emergencies. Sheriff's Office, please.
Question there. In discussion for the Office of Emergency Management, I know our location in the center of the community, we're pretty low lying compared to the rest of the county. But was there discussion or evaluation about co-location with emergency management with new administration building as a potential?
There was, and in that 180,000 square feet is maybe about a 4,000 square foot emergency management. They're rolled into the shared spaces. So it's contemplated in that 180,000 that you would have a large conference space with breakout conference spaces that on a day-to-day basis would function almost like what you have at the third floor of Elcott, that large conference space with some breakout rooms. And you'd use those on a day-to-day basis, evenings. But in an emergency, you'd have to cancel programming and activate that. So that's in that 180. Sheriff's Office, to pursue investing in and expanding the Sheriff's Office, this would be a project that would be done in phases over years. We'll need some further study and input with the sheriff on how to keep the site secure and functional. Their need expressed to us was what was invested in 2015, that wing, and I can't point very well, that northeast wing on the site, Plan Northeast, would be mirrored into that blue. That's kind of the first and foremost need, additional bed capacity and cells that accommodate how detainees need to be housed now. The original that was done 2015 contemplated multiple occupants per cell, and that's just not a feasible thing moving into this decade. Number two there would be a covered yard and classrooms. So there's a fair amount of vocational ed training and just socialization skills and work that we need space for in the jail. Sheriff's rather passionate about the leaving in a better place, leaving with more skills than you entered with, and having opportunity to provide that is that's what contemplated in number two, along with the outdoor yard. Number three, that's the oldest part of the jail. That's the poorest condition, and that largely needs to be torn down and reconstructed. And then we have got some site amenities on there as well. Their marine unit, barn, just warm storage type settings. Yes.
I'll go Vice Chair Pro Tem.
Thank you, Chair. I read through the number of things and training facility for the Sheriff's Department and for the county police officers had quite a good, it looked like a good thing there.
Yes.
Obviously, it doesn't look like it's incorporated into this. Are we looking at a separate facility for training, which in my mind is a good thing, but obviously we need to work with our sheriff and our administration to make sure that officers are adequately trained or kept trained and stuff. Our MCOS folks are making sure that we are training till the cows come home. Thank you.
Thank you for the question. Yes, that's contemplated. I don't know that that will fit onto this site. We're kind of maxing out this site as is. Some of the opportunities that I believe are expressed in here, and they fall into the if this then that, and kind of get to the lower tier, is if Office of Community Corrections pulls out of Healy Street, coupled with we understand the state is winding down potentially their lease of their portion of the Healy Street facility, then you'd have a 30 to 40,000 square foot facility that has the ability to accommodate a future training center for the police, right in this kind of in this same area.
Well, actually, that sits behind there on Healy Street in another building that we just built about 10 years ago or less. So it's fairly new.
It is fairly new, and in that period, the Zoom calls and the virtual calls have taken place of the visitation space. So that's while the drug testing in some of the meeting space there is heavily used, there's large empty space in that facility. Their needs have significantly changed since that was built. So you have a great building. We should figure out how to repurpose it. And I think that's probably low-hanging fruit if everybody moves out of that site for the sheriff to take over. But again, if this, then this, that one's needs some moving parts to figure out.
Okay. I think you have some additional questions, and just to, for board colleagues, I'm very much interested in watching the older portion of the jail be demolished and no longer utilized. It is not a very functional space, both for residents in the jail and staff. It's not really conducive to functional programming. It has a number of facility plan issues. So while spending money on a jail is not, like my dream ambition, improving conditions for people who are faced with incarceration certainly is needed. So some questions on that. Yes. In the proposal with the jail addition, the older components of the jail would then remain existing but potentially not utilized. We would transition over to a new construction and then move into a demolition phase. Is that?
Yeah, to phase this, achieving additional square footage as phase number one will give you the flexibility to then vacate the older parts of the jail, occupy the newer, while then you pull down those unused parts and rebuild them. In addition, there's will likely be some temporary facilities that need to be constructed on site. Not everything in that yellow is detainees. There's office space and such that would need to be housed on site, but in temp facilities during that reconstruction phase.
Okay, thank you for that. And then the covered yard, you speak a little bit to the need for that. I think at this time, there is not much access to the yard that occurs at the jail. Did they see a change to that utilization or the way that they're staffing recreational time? Yeah, as I understand it, it is a thing that we need to provide to have that outdoor space. I think the sheriff sees it kind of what you're saying, that the opportunity to have that either elevated over classrooms or multi-purpose, that footprint we have, either cover it with classrooms or cover it, build it up, that's where the sheriff was wanting to get creative and saw opportunity. I need square footage for facility. I also need this outdoor space. How can we do both of them and kind of give a better all season experience for that outdoor space? Okay. Because I think you're reading it right. That number one, the big blue blob, is largely the yard as it exists today. And so we're significantly cutting that back in this kind of broad suggestion. Household hazardous waste, the intent of this graphic is to represent why we can't just expand the site there. That's heavily used and valued park space that's kind of outlined in this little graphic, and those blue masses are the size of a new facility that we need. The orange is kind of large vehicle pickup and drop off of
supplies. And so just supporting the independent study that was happening at the same time, recommending about 12 acres, 10 to 12 acres centrally in the community, and why trying to take any from parks would be problematic. There just isn't land available and a lot of other things going on there. This facility fills up quick. It's a great asset. Applaud us all for having it in the community and bringing it, scaling it, and then staffing it at a level where it's more accessible. It's going to be a great add when we do that.
Vice Chair Pro Tem.
So your picture there showed expansion at the fairgrounds, but really what we're talking about is building a new facility at a different location to accommodate the amount of household hazardous waste that the county is now working with or generating and stuff. So technically you're saying we're just kind of going away from there and we're looking at, which I totally agree with, because there is a huge need and desire that we facilitate and use recycling and materials handling in a maybe a different view here.
I probably got ahead of myself here because I want to give a graphic to help explain everything, but you haven't chosen a site. The commission hasn't chosen a site. And so I just wanted to represent what 12.5 acres would look like. And it would require taking a significant number of space from the parks to achieve it on this site. And that's not what's being recommended. You're understanding that correct. So, because as battery use increases and we're going to generate more and more, and we're going to need a facility that's staffed more regularly than what this can accommodate. So lots of reasons to proceed with a new facility in a new location. So landing back on kind of the summary slide, I wanted to mention real quick that level 1, all those costs include land acquisition where relevant and include a 10% escalation cost to account for anticipated construction cost increase kind of year over year of about 3%. 5 to 10 years has about a 30% construction escalation in it. And then when we're at those 3-year project costs, we're escalating about a 60% escalation. So you can kind of see how those, while the projects are getting smaller in the future, their numbers are stay at significant investments, and that's anticipating cost escalation.
Vice Chair.
I'm complete. Yes. Any other questions? Thank you.
First of all, thank you very much. Turn my mic on. Thank you very much for doing this. I've gone over this a couple different times, and it's pretty thorough, and I appreciate your work, and Carol, wherever you are, there he is. Appreciate your work on this as well. I had a couple of questions on this. Well, first let me do my comments. I agree largely, not completely, but largely with the tier 1 recommendations. Let me get up to here. God, there's so much stuff in here that 84 pages. Yeah, 84 pages. Okay, the first the within the 5 years, I agree. Number one, the household hazardous waste facility, I think probably is number 1 in my mind, just because of the potential growth. I think we need to do that in the next 5 years. Drain commissions facility, mostly because it's so cheap per square foot, and we can eliminate that and eliminate the space that we're going to need in the new admin building. I think that makes a lot of sense. The sheriff's office and county jail expansion and modernization, we're going to need to do that. I think we start within the next 5 years, but to be completely honest, with that price tag of $150 to $230 million, it's going to be a several decade-long project to get to completion, so that the whole board is aware of that. I think we need to start, as the chair said, the immediate needs, the old facility of the jail, and finding different sort of placement for that. The new administration building, I think we're going to need to do that. The new Emergency Management Operations Center, I don't think we need a standalone building. I just feel that for taxpayers' expense, something that's going to be used maybe 6 to 7 times, we shouldn't be spending $8 million on a building for that when we can house it within our new administration building. So that's what I'm leaning on in that aspect. I think we can save ourselves $8 million by not buying a new emergency management center on somewhere by 131 and 94. I think we can house that internally here or potentially in Portage or whatever we decide to do. But I think we can save money on that. But 4 of those 5, I think we need to figure out financing, how we're going to pay for it, and how we're going to get there. I do have some questions on the square footage.
Sure.
You said you doled out or you passed out community surveys, but department head surveys of what they thought that their future spacing was going to be 5 years, 10 years, and 50 years too, I believe. Some of these assumptions make sense. 10% equalization had 0% growth. But some of them were, 150, 220% growth in the next 5 years. For instance, communications team being an 8-person communications team within the next 5 years. I don't see us doing that or spending that type of money or resources on an ongoing basis for an 8-person communications team. I think that's extensive. Finance 7+ employees. I think he probably is going to need that number of employees with the complexity of what's going on. There's other ones that I agree with, some of them that I'm not, 100% on. But I guess I do agree with the building, even if you don't finish. And that, I guess that led me into my question. If you were to build 180 or 180,000 square feet, and a large portion of that would be document storage, for instance, I think you have 30 or 40,000 square feet for that. Does that reduce the cost of square footage that we'd have to spend when a lot of it's kind of like document storage space or unfinished space for future use? Can that lower our initial shock value of the dollars per square foot that we're seeing here?
Certainly, I'll say kind of 3 things in response. One, that future tone, the way we met with staff, it was our purpose to try to draw out, what's going to help you deliver the highest level, best services that you're being called to do. And it wasn't our role to try to censor that or mitigate that at all. So one of the very next steps for any of these projects is to really align your budget and your real goals and make sure that you're getting value out of those departments' growth needs. So we're putting kind of the context, kind of the ceiling, so to speak, of up to this size, but there's a lot of work that the county will need to undergo to right size what you want to spend with those services.
Gotcha. So this is everything that anybody thinks that they could need. This is what it is. And as we look in the construction process or go for up to bid, we can phase that kind of sticker shock down a little bit.
Yes, you'll have full control of that. Yep.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Commissioner Morales. Sorry, that's been answered. Thank you. I wanted, again, we have a lot of detailed information, and I think as we go forward and have more detailed discussions about ultimately what investment we want to make in each of the facilities, this is the if you could have it all sort of evaluation. And so with that in mind, we determine then what's really fiscally reasonable, manageable for us. Commissioner Morales.
I kind of got my answer. So my good colleague over here was adding it up by hand, but I didn't see a total on here for the projects. It leads me back to think about when we did the Justice Center, that was about 90 million. So if we 94 million, I stand corrected by 4 million. It's all good. Around 90 million. So as Vice Chair mentioned, about financing, is that something that we could knock out yearly if we already know we paid? And I'm not sure what differences we have in the budget from when, the 90 million was approved. What was that, 2020? 2021-ish, maybe 2020. I don't think I was on the board. Anyway, seeing if something like 90 million to pay that off in 3 years, so that we're not owing for 10 or 15. So just a thought. So we're looking, is it 300 and about 45 million?
I did not take the step to total them all.
For the level 1. So we don't know how much this costs yet?
I totaled my project. I mean, this is what they are. I don't have a number at my fingertips.
If we could get that number, I
Sure.
would greatly appreciate it.
Sure.
Thank you.
Vice Chair.
Sorry, the Commissioner Morales got me going on some stuff, and to get there, I mean, with the wish list of everything, the most expensive, like everything that anybody could ever dream of wanting, yeah, it's about $360 some million. But the administrator is working very well and closely with other municipalities to try to maybe help on the household hazardous waste facility costs, and I greatly appreciate that. If we're even partially successful in that endeavor, it would be a huge cut. We're going to need to get that number down to about 130 to 150 million dollars, somewhere in that range. Now, I say that, but the 94 million that we spent on the Pratt Center, had we gone 13 million dollars more and made it a $110 million project, we would have saved the county $40 million at this point in time. It was extremely short-sighted to keep that cap at $94 million, and we're paying for it now. We don't want to make that same mistake again. Getting hard numbers in your head is we have to stay under this, we have to stay under this. If you're spending money and it's not being utilized correctly and we're now being overstaffed at that jail, it just comes back and bites us 5 years later. But yeah, I think Commissioner Morales, your questions are absolutely correct. $360 million is a lot of money, but we got to figure out a way to pare that down some.
Commissioner Morales.
So I guess my question would be, if you just said, you know, we had a hard budget, I mean, that's cutting that budget in half, and I saw your face. You probably didn't know you made a face when he
Probably
said
not.
that. So how do we get everything we need and not pay for it when we're long gone, you know, off this board? I mean, cutting, that's almost half the budget. If not half the budget, how do we do that and make sure that everybody's not squoze into these facilities? So I'd like your opinion on
Yeah.
slicing a budget in half.
I'll just one thing I'll say, these contemplated the incremental cost to add square footage to increase your departmental activity to achieve the highest and best service that your departments are being asked to give. It doesn't contemplate selling buildings, selling land, or offloading some of these as you replace them. There's other revenue sources that probably become available as you pull back from other spaces. So that'll be a piece.
And I know as we think about that, I also want to think about, you know, we invested in a building and just had to, did we just redo pipes, or it was copper in the water? Like, I don't want to have an older building that's been around. I mean, most of our buildings has been around for over 2 decades, and then we have to deal with repairs later. So as I digress, I just wanted to know how you felt about slashing a budget in half.
Some of that'd be a challenge.
Deputy Administrator, did you have additional information to share?
Well, thank you. Jared really kind of hit it, looking at those other opportunities. The other is the great work of our lobbyist. So finding other dollars with other opportunities is really it. The chief concern, or at least one of the goals we wanted to have, was really articulate the needs and the vision of the departments, to not really ever be in a situation where we go into a space and we run out of space immediately. So really having, from a departmental perspective, saying everything that he said, this is the long range vision of what we believe a growing county will need, not just this point in time, but really have buildings and facilities that'll meet our needs of the future. So it required a little bit of suspension of disbelief, letting go of some things that maybe have happened or discussed in the past, to say, let's just focus on the service delivery. Let's focus on the best that our citizens can get. And then what does that look like? What does the base look like today? And what does that vision look like tomorrow? And from that space, then we will go into value engineering, but not necessarily compromising, hey, we can't grow. Or if we do, it might be shifting some spaces and having some creativity. So this plan contemplates a lot of that. But again, cost control, selling particular assets, buildings, generating additional revenues, looking at additional revenues. So it's a myriad of things that this board leadership can endeavor to try and afford these different things. And one was mentioned in terms of those intergovernmental agreements with hazardous household waste, just being creative in each one of these elements as we confront those particular challenges. So thank you.
Thank you. And, you know, this board, I think, we are capable of having some strategic vision. We have an excellent support from our administrative team to really dialogue through. I'm excited as we move into really a design phase on what the new admin building will look like. That's obviously going to be the first one that we're tackling as we're moving forward with land acquisition is completed. And, we're just challenged to learn from the past. There'll be pressure on us to be, fiscally sound, and that remains a foundation of the decisions that we have to make, but we also need to be strategically nimble enough to grow. And, I think our community, I think we're recognizing a lot of growth that's occurring, and, I'm very positive. I think Kalamazoo County is poised to grow pretty substantially in the medium term, and so let's be prepared to tackle that together. Okay. All right. With that, are there any other questions? Thank you so much for the presentation, for the work. We've been anxiously waiting that plan, and we thank you for the diligence. All the partners across county government, our department heads, our administrative team, et cetera, that contributed to the feedback. Ongoing dialogue will be part of the process going forward, but we very much appreciate the work. Deputy Administrator.
Yes, and I would be remiss if I didn't acknowledge Director Eric McNamara in this effort. His knowledge and history of the facilities, the challenges managing those facilities, and really working hand in hand with departments and their challenges with facilities has been instrumental and crucial in this process, and working with Jared and his team. So I would absolutely be remiss if I did that. So Director McNamara, thank you.
Thank you, Deputy Administrator. We hear often about his expertise and understanding of our facilities, so we appreciate that greatly. Thank you for lifting that up as well. All right. With that, let's go forward, and we're going to have some discussion on the TriShare pilot update discussion. So with that, again, we're going to talk to Deputy Administrator Cole. We'll also welcome our Director of Human Resources, Sharon Brown. Welcome.
Thank you, Board, Chair, Vice Chair, Chair Pro Tem. As the board is well aware, the county, under your leadership, endeavored on a 3-year pilot program for TriShare. This exciting opportunity has been transformative for many employees. And with any pilot, there is a moment in time to say, what does this look like out of the pilot phase for the county? So we wanted to take this time to really update you all in terms of the path, where we're at, and then really to understand what the board's direction will be in preparation of the next year's budget, which will not be ARPA funded. It would be general fund funded through the Employee Benefits Fund. So really kind of understanding the path of how we got to where we're at, where we're currently at, and what we're seeing as far as trends. And just like I lifted up Director McNamara, I want to lift up Director Brown. Since joining our team, she has been amazing in terms of her leadership and focusing on a collaborative spirit for endeavors such as this. So with that, I'd like to turn it over to Director Brown.
Welcome, Director.
Hi there. So as you all know, I believe you got the update information that I shared about how it has been going so far for us for this program. And when I started in March of this year, this was one of the top priorities lifted up to me to try to expand the existing TriShare pilot that was really limited by the state's regulations into something that was more broad and able to serve employees who were outside of those income caps that were placed by the state of Michigan on the TriShare program. Coincidentally, the state of Michigan had the same idea kind of at the same time, and they were working on building out something that is called the Michigan Care Share Program, which was designed for employers who wanted to do just what we had discussed here and expand that program. And along with that came funding from the state to help support the administration of that Care Share Program. One of the real advantages to that is it creates a really seamless experience for our employees as they can apply for TriShare. If their income disqualified for that, they can it rolls right away into Care Share. They don't have to do a separate separate application. The same thing is true if they are in the program for a few years and their income changes and they need to move from one program to the other. That can all happen very seamlessly. Also means that the HR staff does not have to find a way, along with finance team, to administer a pretty complicated program in terms of vetting the providers, making sure payments are made on time, all of those sorts of things. So we've been really excited to see the program expand this year. There were 37 employees enrolled in the original TriShare pilot at the end of 24. Make sure I've got my years right, at the end of 24. And then we are up to 50 employees who are participating now in the two programs together at the end of 25. We went from 53 children to 68 children who are being served. We also have some children who are on the inactive list, and we do have some people who are waiting to get in the program. And that was partly because with the expansion, we really weren't sure how to predict what those costs were going to look like. And so to be fiscally responsible, we started with a cap on it based on the need as we understood it. We had done some pre-surveys, did a lot of collaborative effort, sent out a survey to all staff, invited folks to come to some focus groups and help with the design of the program. And through all that, we were under the impression we were going to get around 80 kids or so who came in. It turns out there were even more than that. And so we're now in a position to look at what does it look like to expand the program to create more space for more people to be served. At the same time, we're aware of the financial obligations, and something I've lifted up many times in the design process as well, is that a benefit like this can do harm if we roll it out to folks and they become financially reliant on it, and then we take it back again. So I want to make sure we're able to act in a way that is supportive of the staff and doesn't create disruptions in people's family budgets along the way. So slow and steady moving forward has been my approach here. But as we're looking at what the 27 budget could look like and how we could try to build this into our benefits fund going forward, I try to provide you with some information about what we're seeing as our real-time averages of the employees we have and the cost of their childcare. Because one of the ways that the state of Michigan, by supporting this through the administration, they also have put some rules there. And one of them is that the employees are the employer may not cap the total benefit to an employee. They can cap how many people are able to participate, but under the state program, the way it's written, we can't cap the top end. So we couldn't say, for example, up to $3,000 per employee. If we did that, we'd have to take it back into our own administration.
Is that true of both CareShare and TriShare?
That's
programs?
correct.
Thank you. Okay.
Yeah. And so that was part of why we capped the number of children as we were looking at the different options of how to make sure we were fiscally responsible moving forward with the rollout. And so by capping that total number of children, we at least knew that that would somewhat cap the costs. But one of the difficult things with estimating this program is also the variety of costs of childcare, as many of you probably know. And so we have both the state average, the federal average, the county average. It's been very illuminating to be able to see the real costs of our employees who are participating, because one of the things we can't very well guess at is who is going to need full-time care and who needs wraparound care on either side of daycare or of school or during the summers. And so our real-time averages are harder to predict, and that's part of why the pilot's so helpful, to get a real feel for what this is looking like in real time. So I'm happy to answer more questions, but I don't want to risk just rambling on about the program.
Vice Chair.
Yes, thank you very much for this. One, the TriShare and the CareShare are capped in the same thing, and there is currently a waiting list, correct?
That's correct.
Okay, and the cap was decided by HR administration, or?
Yeah,
because it wasn't decided by the board.
Yeah, HR and an administration were working on that to try to stay inside that fiscal responsibility. And then also there was a lot of discussion, I'll say, with the collaboration we did with the focus groups of people who were going to participate about what they thought would be the most, I'm going to say, humane or kind way to limit participation. So we discussed, if we need to make sure this can fit inside a fiscal budget, where would you want to see there to be limits placed on it? Would you want to be the number of families, the number of children, things like that? So
you talked, sorry to interrupt, but you talked about the fiscal budget. We originally were going to allocate $250,000 to this program. We were told that it would is only going to need $150,000. And then later we were told, that just recently that there was a cap. So the fiscal responsibility, in my mind, belongs to the fiduciary agents of the county, which is the County Board of Commissioners. I wish that we would have, especially for the CareShare, I would have rather have us get rid of CareShare if I'd known there was going to be a waiting list for TriShare people, for the people that are in the lowest economic bracket of it. in my mind, I think we can find the money. And to me, this is more than just a pilot. This is a recruitment opportunity for within the whole county, throughout the whole state, so that we can hire the best and the brightest by having one of the best family-friendly employers in town by providing that childcare benefit. And it gives us a bargaining chip as we negotiate with unions to try to develop parity between the benefits that we offer. In my opinion, there are things that I would cut within our budget, and that is our job as county commissioners to do the budget. The strategic reserve, the training budgets that have been increased. These are the types of things that I would go after to make sure that we have the dollars necessary to give our employees, our most valuable asset, the benefits they need to be successful and the benefits that we have as employers to hire and recruit the best potential candidate. So in my mind, I would like, and this, I'm only one vote here, but I would like to see care share and tri-share, especially tri-share that gets the lowest amount. I would like to see absolutely no cap on that. And if we can afford no cap on care share, that would be wonderful too. But we need to make sure that the lowest level employees are getting the benefits so that they can afford to go to work. Because a lot of these people that are making $20, $22 an hour, they can't afford to pay for childcare and go to work. They have to do one or the other. So in my opinion, I think we as a board need to do everything that we can to provide a benefit that's going to help all employees within the county, specifically, especially the lowest paid. So that's my 2 cents on that. I think we can find the money to get rid of this cap, and that's where I'm at.
So, thank you, Vice Chair, for that. And I want to, appreciate your advocacy on this as a parent of young children. I think, it helps us all have a lens to understand the impact that it has, because we're directly facing it as individuals. The board isn't our participant in this particular benefit. I do, also want to thank our administrative staff. I think understanding the complexity of how employees' income changes, that they can qualify for tri-share and then receive a cost of living increase from the board. And if there's a set cap on care share, then may lose that benefit, which then may entice them not to continue employment or not to seek promotion. So we also have to understand the broader impacts of targeted caps on either of the programs. But I also want to thank the expertise of HR and our administrative team and finance and the treasurer's office for their work involved in coordinating how payments are made and received, and really helping us to study and evaluate this. Because as Director Brown lifted up, the worst thing that we could do is offer a tremendous benefit like this and then not have it be sustainable and it to be lost by families. I would agree with Vice Chair's premise that this is a benefit valued and that we should endeavor to find ways to fund that. I have information from Deputy Administrator, and then I'll go to Commissioner Kistler, Deputy Administrator.
Yes, I also want to provide context. There has not been a persistent wait list. As the program is rolled out and the expansion rolled out, we received increased enrollments. So again, in the first quarter of this year versus when the Care Share program rolled out in October, that's where the wait list arrived. So it was 3 people on the wait list at the end of the year, and now it's expanded to
there's
14?
a total of 13 employees on the wait
13.
list, 5 of whom are tri-share eligible.
So within a 4-month period, that expansion, so it's a rolling enrollment. So that's a key context. As we know, life happens and changes, and that's where a lot of this comes. So that's why in this first month, we wanted to come to the board for that support. As you know, in the 2004, there was an underspending. So what we had allocated from the total amount was $150,000 per year. So the extra that was put in was to add what we saw were trends, but we outpaced that. So that's exactly why we're here to the board today. to really get that support, to look at expanding it, but also understanding very transparently what that cost is. And that's just an element of due diligence. So by no means is the administration or in our design assuming any sort of budgetary authority. This is actually reporting what we're seeing in the program in a pilot year.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to address
Thank
that.
you, and want to elevate it so that we can make this informed decision. So Commissioner Gissler.
Thank you, Chair. Maybe my recollection isn't correct, but I don't think we talked about a cap for TriShare when we decided to do a pilot project. We just said, let's estimate what we think it's going to cost, and now it's outgrown that. But it's a darn shame. We've got such I think, a good product, and we're having to kind of pull the reins in a little bit, or not fund it as fully as we should. I'm a big fan of it, and Lord knows it's been a long time since I had any kids that were qualified. I guess I'm surprised that we're seeing this, waiting list situation arise. Let's take a look at our budget, and I'll guarantee you we can find some money in there that'll take care of this.
Yeah, I think I'm hearing so far broad support. I have Administrator, and then I'll go to Commissioner Morales. Administrator.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. I just want to address some of I just call it subtle insinuations that administration is operating outside of their purview with regard to budgetary authority. When we discussed this program as part of the 2024 budget, the board approved a 3-year pilot with a very specific set of dollars. Fundamentally, that means that the program needs to be stretched out for a 3-year period. That inherently places a cap per year on the program. And so I want to provide clarity that administratively, we have conducted due diligence in our responsibilities to ensure that this program remained sufficient for a 3-year period, so that we weren't pulling back a benefit, a very expensive benefit, and a worthwhile benefit to employees that were receiving it. And so our staff, even in the middle of that program, multiple changes are occurring. We endeavored to provide the board on the floor and on the dais, and I have since changed our approach to that so that we're not held to a standard that we don't believe we should be held to, but we tried to provide the board with information on the floor at that time as far as an estimated amount of employees that would take benefit in the program, predicated on a survey that was published internally. Not all staff took that survey, and we said we believe 150 employees would take advantage, and it would be this dollar amount. However, that has subsequently changed. And so what we knew is that we had to stretch a dollar amount for a 3-year period. And so that's where the inherent wait list comes from, that we didn't want to pull back a benefit that employees were receiving initially when they were able to take advantage of the program. So I wanted to address that, the comment about administration and HR and finance and others sort of usurping the board's fiduciary authority. That's not the intent. The intent is to ensure administratively the board, or I say legislatively, the board said we want this program extended to all employees, but there's a very specific dollar amount and it needs to last for 3 years. That's where the wait list comes from.
Yeah, and this is our opportunity. If the board does not want to hit a financial barrier, then we can rectify that through discussion here. Commissioner Morales, then I have Deputy Administrator, and then Vice Chair.
Thank you, Chair. So thank you, Administrator, for that clarification. I guess we don't think about as 300,000. That's just an arbitrary number, and that we have to spread it out over 3 years. I'm looking through this. I do agree with Vice Chair. We have to take into consideration our most vulnerable populations. I also want to share that even though we have cost of living increases every year, typically for our most vulnerable populations, that's just them breaking even because everything else is going up and they still don't have enough to cover. So emphasizing taking care of our most vulnerable. And then how much, and I'm scrolling, how much are we short? And whatever that number is, can I get an update on the emergency fund and who's utilizing that? And maybe if we haven't capitalize on that full usage to pull some of that money to cover this, because I feel like that's an emergency situation as well.
Deputy Administrator.
Thank you, Commissioner Morales. Certainly I'll be able to pull those numbers. You'll have it before the end of the night. And you're right, there's not a big drawdown on there. So there's some opportunities and things to also discuss with it. But I do also want to say that the funds that the board has allocated, I'll let Director Brown kind of talk about the balance, what's left over. Really partly is, again, to lift up the ongoing cost, right? So we will be able to expend those funds and some other funds that were dedicated at a previous board action. But having said that, hey, we need to take a look at what the ongoing costs are. So I'll let Director Brown get into more of those specifics.
I'll entertain that and then we'll come to that.
Thank you for that. I just wanted to offer a couple of pieces of clarity as well, that when we rolled the program out for Care Share expansion, it was officially on October 4th. And at that point, we did not have a wait list. Our original estimate was sufficient to get everyone. We started having a wait list of 2 or 3 people partway through October. In terms of the 3-year pilot, I just kind of wanted to highlight that we're only 90 days into the Care Share rollout, and we're doing our first reconciliation of that quarterly spending right this very minute to get the refunds back to folks who've had, because we also moved to payroll deduction, which we haven't even kind of touched on. But when we did that, and so along the way, we have accumulated folks on the wait list who have, as the word has spread about this, but we're in a really good position right now with the funding that's already been allotted to then do that expansion. That was just part of a tiered approach to make sure we didn't blow it out of the water right out of the gate and end up with 200 people on it that we couldn't sustain. So this was a way to measure that out. I believe that we're in a position to have the wait list cleared by I'm going to say 30 days. The real hold is just administratively trying to get it all processed. We have several folks who are inactive in the program right now who are holding a spot but are not actively using care. So we want to have a conversation, and with the new program design, we anticipate having that be something that would automatically move you out of your spot until you were ready to go active again. In addition, we have a few folks on the list still from the payroll deduction method who have accumulated arrears balances that they have not brought into good standing. And at some point, we anticipate asking those folks to either establish a payment plan or to be exited from the program for lack of compliance, which is also going to free up more spots. Not in the ideal way, because it's people who have children who could be using care. But I believe that between just those 2 things, we're going to be able to clear the wait list, as well as with the budget that's been allotted for 26. So I would just highlight again that my big comment of concern and question going forward is just to truly make sure that what I'm hearing today, the board is wanting to sustain that funding beyond 26. I had one person, I'll just share this, on one of our collaboration calls, focus groups early on, who said, I think we can have another baby now. You can't undo that. And so it just put a real level of responsibility on making sure the program was built to last so that nobody ended up pinched on that.
We love babies, though, Vice Chair.
Yeah, absolutely. And it needs to be, I think that it could be a great for a recruitment tool. And to administration, I was not implying that you were taking over our fiduciary responsibilities. I was just, when we originally wanted to put 250 in, we were talked to 150 and then find out it was a waiting list. Just let us know there's a waiting list. We would gladly, and I know the votes are there on this board, gladly increase that funding in order to continue this program. This has an opportunity really to be a shining star of employers throughout the state. When we go and look for talent, and we can say, we're going to pay for 1/3 of your childcare or a portion of your childcare, we're going to get better quality candidates that apply to these positions. So I can't speak strongly enough, and wherever the funding is there, I see in the county Board of Commissioners budget, we only spent 86.9% of our budget. 73,000 was unspent in December. I'd gladly take it out of our budget. That's 73,000 right there that we can put into the employee benefits to continue this program. I think this is a priority far more than other things that we're spending money on. Thank you.
Commissioner Morales.
Last thing, and so you mentioned folks may be thinking about bringing new life into the world, which is great. I also, just like with food pantries, that's only, a minimal means of support, if you will. So I'm not sure, when folks are signing up for this, if they have newborns, that you all are thinking about having them apply for RX Kids as well.
I'm sorry, for which?
RX Kids.
I have not done anything about that.
Yeah, so they can fill out that application, and I believe it gives like 1,500 first time and then 500 a month up to a year. So that could help supplement some of that, give them some cushion as they move forward. So just some different alternatives too.
I just want to know more about that, but I'll ask another time.
Tyrell can help you.
I certainly can. Yeah.
Thank you. And I think this is a timely and prudent decision. I think administration has been working hard to ensure that we have stability. And I'm hearing, part of this is also administrative processing. So I know folks are eager to connect to benefits. We're connect to support them with those benefits. And we want to make them sustainable over the long term. In particular, for me, I mean, it's wonderful that we're offering TriShare and CareShare components, but TriShare must remain sustainable. Those are our employees most on the margins. And, so I want to be careful as we watch growth in the plan. We can't have the cost of CareShare turn into something that consumes and then, creates a condition where we cannot participate in TriShare. So Deputy Administrator.
And what has been my theme so far, I don't want to omit the hard work of really a full team it took to do this with many changes. To have a pilot with these many changes to be able to evaluate it is not easy to do. So I certainly want to acknowledge the Treasurer's Office and the Finance Department to creating a system to actually invoice and receive and properly credit those costs we can evaluate. That bridge was not light, and that wasn't light administrative work for them to be able to do. So we are just blessed here, I will say, with just leaders throughout this organization and ones who really understood that the impact that this program would have. And without any hesitation, the treasurer and finance staff said, absolutely, whatever we need to do while we go through this transition period to get to the payroll deduction, which was also the payroll deduction was another project in its own. So there's a lot of parts moving that I just don't want to gloss over, that there are some really committed leaders and staff throughout this that made this happen. So the finance director and the treasurer really were great partners in making this happen. So I just wanted to make sure we said that. Well, of course, that HR director.
No, I actually just wanted to offer two other things. One is just for everyone's knowledge that for the county, the CareShare and TriShare program cost the same. In both programs, we pay 1/3, which is actually helpful in terms of budgeting, not being able to determine if someone's going to move between the two programs. So on that side, the difference for the employee is that the state kicks in that extra third if they're under the income cap. And the other thing I just wanted to celebrate with you all is, as I mentioned, the state of Michigan was coming up with this idea of CareShare kind of at the same time we were, and we were actually the first employer in Michigan to get this out the door. And I just think that's worth celebrating. They announced it publicly, the state did, that this program existed in November, and we went live October 4th. So along with that is the celebration and a little bit of what has made it. We're blazing a new trail. So doing it carefully and thoughtfully with a lot of collaboration, I think has helped the employees have a really great experience as we've done that as well.
Let's be proud of that. That's amazing stuff.
Absolutely.
Thank you all. So is there additional direction or clarification administration needs from the board at this time to process forward with how our programs are functioning right now?
We will just request, that funding and just have the clarity on what that ongoing cost would be. So there's full awareness and acknowledgement of the board, particularly through the budget process. So this will be tracked by administration and lifted up to the board at that time. And then also with the Employee Benefits Committee, this will be a tracked item quarterly when we meet. So, yeah.
Vice Chair.
If there's more money needed, please come and ask. Thank you.
All right, we'll shake the couch cushions again, as they say. All right, thank you all for that discussion and for the entire team. on that. So our next item is the board chair committees, bodies, assignments. I received requests from everyone to remain on assignments as they had been, provided with one exception. I have a conflict on the Open Data Advisory Board and County ID Advisory. So Commissioner Morales, who's been my alternate for County ID, is stepping forward into that in my stead, and they'll be lucky to have her support there as well. With that, there are no other changes unless any other commissioners have any to request, or we're okay moving ahead. Commissioner Ray?
Know what committees I'm on.
Yeah.
So when do we need to have these?
Yeah, by our next meeting. At the next meeting.
Oh.
Do you need changes, Commissioner Ray?
No, I'll look at the.
Okay, sorry, and thank you. All right. Okay. Okay, we'll go to our next item, first reading of the Act 185 bond issuance for Oshtemo Township sanitary sewer. Now speak to that, Administrator. Thank you so much.
I absolutely can. So tonight before you is a first reading of a resolution that essentially authorizes leveraging our bond capacity for Oshtemo Township sewer project, sanitary sewer project improvements. And by statute, we have to adopt a resolution allowing them to do that. So this is just the first step of that. In your packet, what you also see is a Board of Public Works resolution recommending that the board adopt this resolution before you. So that's included for your awareness. The Board of Public Works wholeheartedly supported the project, and so that's what you have before you tonight. It's a $15 million bond. Our bond capacity is roughly 700 plus million, so well within our realm to do it. Additionally, I'd like to inform the board that through our lobbyist, in partnership with board leadership, we have tasked them with, and you'll see it in your lobbyist updates, but he's been working with the state financing arm to take advantage of a federal program. I don't recall what the actual acronym stands for, but it's SWIFIA and SWIFIA. And so there's a water and then a sewer component of loans that they could take advantage of. And so that's just tangential to this item. But the benefit of that program would be that their rates would be lower than a bond. And so we still need to go forward with this bond and move forward, but behind the scenes, we're working with our lobbyists to work with the state to offer that program. It wouldn't just be 2 townships, just like Oshtemo, but it would be to all municipalities in the state, all townships in the state. So they're working on that as well, just as another benefit, so that, townships and other municipalities don't have to leverage bonding capacity from counties and go through this whole ordeal to secure funding for those kind of improvements within their municipalities.
Thank you for that update, Administrator. So then my understanding, because of timing, they will want to execute a bond for this particular project, potentially, but for future projects, the loan mechanism that we're advocating for them on would help reduce costs for future.
Yes, Chair, that is absolutely correct.
Thank you. All right. Any other questions on that, Commissioner Gisler?
Yes, I'll ask the same question that I asked multiple times when the county participated in bonding in some fashion for the road commission building. The county's AA plus credit rating stands, and we will not be held should Oshtemo, and I'm sure they won't, but should Oshtemo default, that's not our problem, right?
That's a great question, Chair and Commissioner Gisler. And so, yes, to answer your questions, these are backed by the rates of their sewer, their sewer rates. So it's backed by that. It's then would be that they would certainly be responsible for paying back the bonds through taxes, that sort of thing. Certainly backed by their rates. Nonetheless, our AAA or AA plus bond rating. This is just the first step of the process. We will go through another credit rating. We anticipate that it'll still remain AA plus.
Thank you.
All right, I'm seeing no other questions there. Okay. We'll move to the next item, our first reading of the Wear Red Day proclamation for 2026. We'll take that up at a future meeting. Any discussion wanted on that? Okay. With that, we have some closed session items to move forward. Who's our Johnny on the spot?
That's usually Abby.
Commissioner Wheeler, you're doing our, that's all right.
Well, thank you, Chair.
Our closed session motions, please. Thank you.
There's two, so stick around. I motion to enter closed session pursuant to MCL 15.2681C for purposes of negotiations of a collective bargaining agreement with KCSDA, the Sheriff's Office.
Motion made by Commissioner Wheeler, supported by Vice Chair Taylor. Any further discussion? Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Commissioner Gisler? Vice Chair Pro Tem Hepler?
Yes.
Commissioner Mazer?
Yes.
Commissioner Morales? Commissioner Ray?
Yes.
Chair Streps?
Yes.
Vice Chair Taylor?
Yes.
Commissioner Wheeler? Yes. Commissioner DeLuke?
Yes.
9 yes.
Thank you. That motion carries. Commissioner Wheeler.
I motion to enter into closed session pursuant to MCL 15.2681C for purposes of negotiations of a collective bargaining agreement with juvenile home employees.
Motion is made by Commissioner Wheeler, supported by Vice Chair Pro Tem Hepler. Any further discussion? Clerk, please call this roll.
Vice Chair Pro Tem Hepler?
Yes.
Commissioner Mazer?
Yes.
Commissioner Morales?
Yes.
Commissioner Ray? Chair Streps?
Yes.
Vice Chair Taylor?
Yes.
Commissioner Wheeler? Yes. Commissioner DeLuke?
Yes.
Commissioner Gisler?
Yes.
9 yes.
All right. Thank you. That motion carries as well. We will move to closed session. Commissioner Wheeler, I'm sorry, from closed session. My apologies.
Okay.
Commissioner Wheeler.
I make a motion to come out of the first closed session.
Motion made by Commissioner Wheeler, supported by Vice Chair Taylor. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. That motion carries. Commissioner Wheeler.
I make a motion to approve the first, to approve the first closed session minutes.
Motion made by Commissioner Wheeler, supported by Vice Chair Pro Tem Hepler to approve the minutes for the first closed session. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. That motion carries. Yes.
I make a motion to come out of the second closed session.
Support? We will. Motion made by Commissioner Wheeler, supported by Vice Chair Pro Tem Hepler to come out of our second closed session. Any further discussion? We'll go back into it. We'll just make a motion to go back into it. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. That motion carries. At this time, we've exhausted our committee of the whole agenda. We are adjourned. Then I'm going to call to order Kalamazoo County Board of Commissioners regular business meeting. At this time, we will entertain a motion to move back into closed session. Thank you, Commissioner Wheeler.
I make a motion to go back into closed session pursuant to MCL 152681C for purposes of I'm sorry, that is the incorrect one. 15.2681C for purposes of negotiations of a collective bargaining agreement with KCSDA.
Motion made by Commissioner Wheeler, supported by Vice Chair Pro Tem Hepler. Any further discussion? All right, clerk, will you please call the roll?
Commissioner Mazer,
Yes.
Commissioner Morales. Commissioner Ray,
Yes.
Chair Strips,
Yes.
Vice Chair Taylor,
Yes.
Commissioner Wheeler. Yes. Commissioner DeLu.
Yeah.
Commissioner Gisler,
Yes.
and Vice Chair Pro Tem Hepler.
Yes.
9 yes.
Thank you. That motion carries. We will adjourn to a closed session.